I thought I'd do my best to get involved far more with the booktube community, and when I saw the tag "I'm so annoyed" pop up, I thought this is perfect for me. Inspired by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading and Melinda at Orb of Stories, I thought that "I'm so annoyed" was perfectly me, and here's my go at it. Hi, I'm Ray. Welcome to my little bookish corner of the world. As you can see, I've changed things up a little bit, and I will probably do even more when the next batch of books arrive in the next couple of days, because I'm running out of shelf space behind me just a little bit. This week I thought I would do "I'm so annoyed," because the more I thought on the questions that were being asked, the more I realised actually there are things that annoy me about books and publishers and everything else. So here's my little attempt at "I'm so annoyed" booktube tag. First question, do publishers ever do things that annoy me? Oh yes. The worst thing, and you'll see it on my shelves, and I will at some point do a tour of my other shelves, that really frustrates me, and that is changing the size of books. You have a bookcase that looks perfectly aligned, and the next book comes out by your favourite author, the one that you've been collecting for years, and the hardback is larger than the hardbacks that you've had previously. I can see it on a couple of the shelves behind me, and if I tilt my camera, you can see them. And it drives me nuts. I know that it shouldn't, because it's one of those things that happens, and maybe they've made the changes, sorry for the camera wobble, maybe they've made the changes for a really big reason, but it drives me absolutely potty, because I like my shelves being even. I like all the paperbacks being the same size. I like all the hardbacks being the same size. Please, consistency. It is so annoying. Next question, have you ever been annoyed by a spoiler, even something as simple as someone telling you there is a great twist? If you didn't know, I host a podcast called Being Bookish, and have done since 2020, I think. Yes, 2020, October, September. Oh my God, my brain is completely rubbish. September 2020. And one of the things I pride myself on is spoiler-free book reviews. I interview a few authors, and one of the things I say to them is, we don't want to give away any spoilers, because I want people to read the books for themselves and find the twists and find the emotional draining moments and everything else for themselves, and experience the joy or the fear or the horror or the heartbreak that goes with them. And if you've got a warning of that, you aren't gonna, it's not gonna hit the same. So if that kind of spoiler came along, I would be heartbroken, but I am very, very careful when it comes to reading reviews and everything else. I don't tend to read them until I've finished the book, or if I know I never have any intention of reading the book. In fact, I did something very, very similar the other day with one of the books I have got on my unhaul shelf, which I will be going over in another video, because it's actually growing quite large in the last couple of weeks. But that kind of thing irritates me, when people are so joyous about sharing the review. I think it's more that they've shared it and they're happy about it than anything else. And I experienced that far more as a member of fandom with things like Buffy and Angel back in the late 90s, early 2000s, than I've experienced with anything since, because I do my best to avoid it. So I don't think there's ever been a moment where I've gone, I can't believe you told me that. It's just not my thing anymore, and I tend to have people around me that are a little bit more careful about it. I suppose it's just one of those things. We got spoiled a lot with TV shows and things back in the day. Have you ever been annoyed by what you discovered in a little free library, a book sale, or a used bookstore? Yes. Oh God, yes. I think Actually, it's more on sites like eBay and Etsy that it annoys me. But I have come across certain books in certain places that frustrate me considerably, and that is book arcs, physical proofs from publishers. I don't know how many times they have to tell us, please do not sell this. It is not a finished book. And then you go on sites like eBay or you pop into a secondhand bookshop, and it's happened a few times to me where I've come out of the bookshop feeling quite annoyed, not with the bookseller because they might not know any different, but with the person who sold it to them or the person who's selling it on eBay or something else. It's like, this is a proof. It's not finished. It's not the finished work. Sometimes they are gorgeous. I've got a few arcs on my shelf that are stunning to look at, but that doesn't mean I should sell them. If you've got an arc, I know it's very difficult in some cases to dispose of them, especially if you take, like I do, I've got a few on my shelf that have already come out and they're quite old and I haven't read them yet. And it's quite difficult to pass them on at that point because people have already, if they were interested in the book, they've already purchased it. But at the same time, they aren't necessarily going to be the finished version of the book. One of the ones I've got is, it came out, I was given it about 6 months before the book was published, so there were changes to be made. And when I got my finished copy, because I ordered a special edition after enjoying the book, there were quite a few changes. Certain page layouts, there were a few more not chapters, but a few more pages, refined scenes. Even the illustrations were different. And if people are going to sell those, then maybe they shouldn't get them in the first place. It feels a little bit wrong. So that does annoy me, and it has annoyed me when I've come across them in secondhand bookstores where people have actually sold them. And it's like, but you shouldn't be selling this on because it's not finished yet. I don't know. When it comes to short story collections, are you annoyed if there is a novella in the middle of the collection? Okay, I'm going to admit something here. I don't read short stories. I don't like them. I have read a few for podcast episodes, and when I've spoken with people, I read them a lot when I was at school and college because they were assigned. But I don't like short stories. I like a big chunky book. And maybe that's a failing. So maybe that shouldn't be I'm so annoyed. That should be, this is not a good thing about my reading habits, but I just don't like short stories. So if I found a novella in the middle, I'd be kind of happy about it, because an extended story instead of a short one, yeah, that I'm not everybody, and everybody is not me. So there are going to be plenty of people who are going, I absolutely find that awful when there's novella. I just wanted short stories. It's like, I like short stories. Not. Sorry. Deckled edges. Beautiful or annoying? I had to look up what deckled edges were. I thought someone was mispronouncing decal. No, apparently deckled edges is a thing, and I have seen them, but the only time I've ever seen them, I don't think I've ever noticed them in an edition of a book I've received, and that is with the Bible at my primary school and a set of encyclopedias that my grandparents had, as well as obviously encyclopedias at school, but they were the only places that I ever saw deckled edges, and they had their place. I think they have their place. They aren't great when it comes to, I can't imagine they'd be great when it came to actually reading a book and flipping back between the chapters to check something that you kind of recalled had happened and couldn't quite remember properly, that had an impact on something going forward. But they definitely are convenient when it comes to, I want to find the S section in a humongous encyclopedia, or the ST. And I think that in that case, they do have their place. They look quite pretty, but I don't think they'd be practical for a normal novel at all. Hey, Editing Ray here. Was going through this video and realised I'd actually forgotten to answer a question. Am I great at following numbers? So the question was, annotations in a book or library book. Is it annoying or are you okay with it? I have to be honest, I make annotations in my own books specifically for academic purposes, or I did a very long time ago.
I don't think I mind so much about annotations if they're in there and they're neat and they actually have some meaning rather than just underscoring a line and going, oh my God, it's so amazing. But then those books tend to be the ones that people keep. So yeah, it's not something that really bugs me because I don't know, it just doesn't bother me that much.
If there's a series or a collection of certain books, like an imprint, and changes are made, are you annoyed or okay with it? This is going to tie into a question that is later on. If I look at I don't like when publishers change sizes of prints of books. So you've got an entire series and the next one in the series comes out in hardback and the hardback is bigger than all of the others. And I've done the same. If I've started a series in paperback, I will wait until the paperback comes out, even if I really want to read it, because I want it to match. My shelves have to match. I can't, they just have to match. Let's leave it at that. So another thing that I find quite frustrating is you've got a series of books and you get to book 4 and all of a sudden the publisher or the author comes out and they say, I've got a brand new designer for my covers. This is amazing. They show you a stunning cover, but it doesn't match the covers you've already got on your shelf. That kind of hurts a little bit because I've been collecting this series and now there's a little voice in my brain that goes, you need to buy the other series. You need to buy the books in the same series. So when they change the cover and the font and the layout of the spines, because they've had these lovely numbers on them and everything else, that annoys me. In fact, I've got a good example. My good example is, it's an indie author, and I absolutely love these books. The first 2 I enjoyed. I read this for a book tour. So the first 2 came out and they matched perfectly. They look incredible, really fits the story. And then right before the 3rd book came out, the end of the summer, redid the cover. So the spines don't match. I'm not denying it's a lovely cover, but I preferred the originals, and to find that this was coming out, the original covers were being completely discontinued, and there is a 4th book coming out, obviously, which will be in this cover. So I'm going to have half the series in the new covers and half the series in the old covers, and part of my brain is like, but I wanted it all to match. So they're not hidden away, but until I can acclimatise and adjust to the fact that they've changed, they are staying with on a pile of books that's on a shelf that's kind of out of view. But I would 100% recommend it. This is called the Sparks trilogy at the moment, but it is going to be 4 books from at some point this year. The author is already working on it, and it's Kerry Law. So the Sky Riders, the Rider's Quest, and the Immortal Rider at this moment in time. So there's the thing that that's question number 7. And yes, there is something that annoys me quite a lot. Do the decisions of characters in a novel ever annoy you? I've stopped reading books and had to put them on the shelf and temper myself not to throw the book at a wall when a character's irritated me. Probably in the last 6 months, there have been quite a few. I'm looking at my shelf of unhauls, and the book I've just finished, What the River Knows, the main character, Inez, was very annoying, but it wasn't because of anything she did. It was just her character was very annoying. I'd say Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses, and if you've seen my previous video, you know how I feel about that particular book series. She irritated me. There were certain actions of hers that just didn't quite work, and I found her annoying because of that. So yes, there is definitely a character that has irritated me. In fact, there's probably quite a few characters that have irritated me going back to previous books that I've read. Gracie in When Gracie Met the Grump, Anastasia in Icebreaker, Daisy Jones in Daisy Jones and the Six. If anybody watched my countdown video for 2023, they'll notice that Daisy Jones and the Six was one of my bottom 5 reads of 2023. So yeah, those characters irritated me quite a lot as well. Are you ever annoyed by how someone organises their books, and what do you find annoying? People can organise their books how they want to. It doesn't irritate me because I'm not the one who has to look at it. I mean, occasionally I will see how my, for example, my sister has a very, very small shelf of books, as does my mum. They're on her bedside table. They're not in any specific order. That doesn't annoy me. What annoys me is when you go to a charity shop or a secondhand bookshop or a normal bookshop, and that annoys me when they're not organised in any. They're organised by author, and then that's it. There's no organisation. I tend to, I mean, if you look at my cozy crime shelf right here, that is organised by author and then by book within that. So they're in alphabetical order by book title, as well as alphabetical order by author. And that is how I've done that one. Whereas my special editions right here are organised by a colour scheme, because I figured that was the best way to do it. Otherwise, it just wouldn't make sense. And I have a bookcase over here, which is most of my romantic comedy stuff. And that is all in order it's done in a rainbow. So it starts with the darker colours and moves to the beautiful pale creams, ivories and whites. So yeah, I think everybody can order their books how they want to, and however is easiest for them. It doesn't really bother me at all. Share something bookish that you find annoying. I've listed 2 things the big things, and that is size of books and book covers changing. But I'd say another thing that I find really annoying is, well, no, it's not annoying, I just think it's awful, is all of the hate that people dislike and disdain that people will place on specific types of readers. That is probably the most annoying thing. You can read whatever you want to read. If you're reading anything, that's great. I'm not a huge Colleen Hoover fan. I read It Starts With Us, or It Ends With Us. I read It Ends With Us, and yeah, that book just made me think, no, this author is not for me. And then I started November 9 and realised that I was very, very right. This author was not for me. In fact, she was a massive DNF. And my niece, who is not a very, very big reader, sent a message out to us about 2 weeks ago saying, I've just read a book, it took me 4 days. She doesn't read very much at all. She has never been a keen reader. And she was really proud of the fact that she'd finished this book. So I sent a message saying, oh, what was it? And she came back with, I can't remember, it was one of Colleen Hoover's novels. And it turned out that a friend of hers had loaned her 4 novels by Colleen Hoover. I'm not going to say anything about I don't like Colleen Hoover, because what I like has no bearing on what other people like. They can like what they want. I was just proud of the fact that she was really happy. She had finished a book in 4 days, which is really not like her. She is a dancer. She does drama, and she's not an amateur dramatic. She graduated from a good drama and dance school, and she is trying very, very hard to get a job on stage. So I didn't want to say to her, oh, you've read Colleen Hoover, really? Because anything is better than nothing. So that whole, that person reads that, it's like, it doesn't matter. Did they like it? Did they enjoy that book? Did they get something from it? Did they get a relaxing moment from it? If all the answers to those questions is yes, then leave them alone. I think that's probably the biggest bookish thing that I find annoying. And the last question 11, is tag people. So if you're a booktuber or a podcaster or anything else, I'm tagging you. So have fun, enjoy it, and I hope that you actually learned something about me in my little rant about things that make me so annoyed on BookTube. Speak to you soon, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you shared any of my likes, dislikes or annoyances.